Hi guys. I didn't want to make a video with voice, but I have no other choice because my hands have suffered an accident and it's quite difficult for me to type. And if I had to edit something or so on, it wouldn't work. I would give up because there's so much to tell what happened in the last year, because it's more than a year that we haven't seen each other. And I had so many things to do in this year, and I was waiting and waiting and waiting because there were missing pieces, and more pieces came up when I found other pieces, and then there were more questions, and it didn't stop. So I have never done a video talking into a camera, and I don't want to look into the camera. I'm sorry about having to give my voice to you. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to have your own voice while reading the texts and getting the information. But I have to break that rule, so sorry guys. Let's start with something very easy for you to verify, and it will show you how deep my traveling has brought me. You all know that the Masons, the Freemasons, always build houses orientating them to the constellation of Sirius. For example, you have the whole Champs-Élysées from Paris looking to Sirius, you have pyramids, you have thousands of mansions, houses, special places, and all built by a Freemason, so we know that that's their unique and quite clear direction they always take when they construct something, and when they build something or project something on a plan. There have been many ideas about why they did that, from esoteric ideas to astrological ideas to astronomy and so on, but they looked at, they could be wrong. I don't want to say badly wrong, because there were nice ideas I liked very much, but maybe now you will understand it. So let's start then with the why they orientate them always into this direction. You see, I know that the Freemasons are kind of little people who work for those who really try to manage this world. Some of them could be Freemasons, but I don't think so. Mostly Freemasons are the little people that they employ, and they give them special rights. I'm talking about Freemasons that are above the highest order or number or whatever they reach. I'm not talking about all these 28, 33 or whatever Freemasons. Mostly Freemasons are the work troupe, those guys who have to do things when something big happens. I don't think that in between, but when big things happen, then that's when they come into action. And that's why they keep them, and that's why they use them. So it's quite easy to understand that every 250 years, maybe every 200, every 220, the average could change. There's a big flood. Mostly rain, mud, hail, ice, everything comes pouring down from the firmament. This is an automatic response. This automatic response is probably triggered when Freemasons and their exploitation of the world has come to a limit they should not trespass. Then the gates of the sky or heavens open and everything comes pouring down. Now imagine this moment when it starts to rain, and then it rains not from the clouds but above of them, and billions of tons of water and mud come down and cover everything. As you will have seen, there are many cities in this world that have exactly the same height of mud in the sub-level. It's always around 12 to 15 meters of mud. You will have seen a lot of houses that are partially buried still in the mud. They didn't reconstruct them, they just built upon or kept the house and changed what was a normal entrance to kind of underground facility, and using first floor or second floor as a new main entrance. There are many videos out there, very nice people, very good videos. You can check that out for yourself. So let's come back to this catastrophic panorama when everything has been covered by mud and it's still raining. And I mean, imagine this landscape. It's a one-color landscape. There are hundreds, maybe thousands of new rivers floating on top of it. Any kind of landmark we had before has gone. And then those who knew about what would happen, mainly the Freemasons, would come out of their shelters that are normally done into or made into high mountains, so the mud flood won't affect them. And after some time they come out, and then what? Just imagine yourself standing at the entrance of one of these huge caves, 300, 400, 500 meters high, and looking down, and everything is just the same. Mud, rivers, water, and most probably a very dim light. Most probably. So nothing would work if you had like GPS or maps or whatever. They wouldn't work. You have nothing you can count on. You could say, okay, there's a mountain, there's another mountain, but that's the only thing. How to find things. So what the Masons did, the Freemasons, what they did or what they do is that they always build the same way. All the cities, everything is just orientated to Sirius. And this makes that it's very easy for them to trace a route to the place they left, occupy the houses they had prepared, dug them partially out or whatever, and start the occupation of this place right from the beginning. They will be the first to arrive again, and this makes them so powerful. This is why they always have everything in their hands. The land is theirs from the very beginning. they are the first. So that's why all the buildings are orientated to Sirius, because you can see it twice a year. I mean, just coming behind Orion, it's very easy to find. It's very easy to use. Triangulation would be very, very easy too. It's like navigating at the sea. It's very easy. And that's how they do it, and that's why they do it, and that's why they construct this way. To be the first, to find their places, dig them out, occupy, and then wait. Wait for the next step, because the flooding is only one step. The flooding is only one step that occurs. There's another step, many other steps, but they are very difficult to understand without having us situated under this perspective of the Freemasons coming out of the caves, out of the mountains, out of these facilities they built, and making their way straight to the houses they left, completely filled up with all kind of materials, documentation, machines, mainly printing machines. Because they will print a lot of stuff, and they will invent a lot of stuff. They will invent exactly what they want the next humanity, or the next kind of humanity to remember, or to see what was the past. They will tell all the lies then we were told after 1800, which is more or less when it all began again for us. So 1800 is the age, the timeline where our timeline really starts. What was before? That's maybe the topic of another video, but I just wanted to get out this information. It's crucial for many of you, and it only keeps or buries one question inside that I wasn't able to dig out, and this is how they manage not to be the first ones, but how they manage to control us because we are dead. You see, this is easy to understand too. Look at the catacombs of Paris, or whatever city, big major city in the world. All have catacombs, or most of them. Some are declared, others are hidden, but we know that they are there. So let's take, for example, the French ones in Paris. They are quite easy to recognize and to see, and you can visit them, a small part of them. I think it's like 4 miles you can visit, or 3 miles and a half. Have a look at that in internet, and you will see stunning footage and pictures of skulls, skeletons and skulls, normally skulls, which means that on this 3 or 4 miles path you have millions of skulls, and they date back like 250, maximum 300 years, but I would say it's the 200 years, 250 years time span. And they are obviously from the people that were before the last flood. Now, let's count that. And let's understand that these catacombs in 4 miles, let's say, have around 3 or 4 million skulls. Now, that's only a part of all the labyrinth of catacombs in Paris, which is probably around 35 miles around the city, like a circle. The older part, or the older inner part of the city. Now, just multiply. I mean, just make the numbers. You have 2, 3, maybe 4 million in 2, 3, maybe 4 miles. That's the only part we are shown. We know there are maybe 40, 35, 32, maybe 45 more miles of labyrinth and tunnels full of skulls. So this gives you an idea that Paris 200 years or 250 years ago had about 35, maybe 40, maybe 50, maybe 80 million people living there, just there. Now this is stunning. This is incredible. The question is not how they disappeared, because, I mean, it's quite easy to understand. The flood killed them all. It killed them all in a way that all the skulls were conserved, which is another important thing to take into consideration. But that's not all. The question is, how do we reappear? I mean, the Freemasons come out of the mountains, and it's quite easy to understand how they reproduce later and keep everything in family. All these royal lines that are always the same. They always come out of the same mountain and then just start again occupying and making them the owners of everything. But how do we reappear? The question is not why our forefathers didn't talk about this story. This is easy to explain. The question is, how did we reappear? Because it's not possible that we were born. Our forefathers were dead. How did we reappear? Now I have a little theory on that. This is when we start, or when I start to say things I'm not sure about.